At the airport, the man disguised as a Muslim man with a fake visa. He was leaving the country after committing a heinous crime. There were two people in Muslim clothing observing him from behind. Then they approached him. Before he could react to it, the woman attached a patch on his neck, which froze his body, and they pushed him on a wheelchair that they prepared in advance. At an art museum, someone took the life of the female director in an evil way. As her husband had a conflict with her, he became the #1 suspect of the case. After 4 months, the prosecutors couldn't find the culprit. This provoked waves of indignation among the populace. The public believed that the suspect was specially treated by the police because his father was a congressman. To prove their integrity, the police station summoned Mingyu again. To regain credibility, the chief prosecutor decided to appoint a prosecutor with in-depth knowledge and experience. That was a female prosecutor named Youngju. Jin Song was a hard-working police officer. His brother always took good care of him and their mother. One day when he bust gambling den and his mother was there, 2 gamblers held her hostage to threaten her son. However, the officer was so good at fighting, so he could knock them out easily. One of them broke their nose, which required a surgery. His mother was also kept in the police station. She even blamed her son because she almost won an amount as much as his 3-month salary. Jin Song couldn't understand what his brother was doing. His mother wasn't in short of money. Why did she gamble? The captain came there with a bill. The hospital fee for the gambler charged 10 million won. Jin Song was accused of assault and battery. As a result, the officer was also held in custody. Prosecutor Heju found out that Mingyu's wife had an affair with a young man. Mingyu once attacked that man. Thus, she believed that was why Mingyu took his wife's life. However, Mingyu was calm with her accuse. He didn't care about her presumption. He even joked about her sexiness, which pissed her off. Youngju asked Heju to leave him for her. Mingyu was at a club from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. He never went out. But nothing could prove that he was there for 4 hours. Because the club had a back door for VIP. Pretty sure it wasn't a coincidence. Of course, there was no CCTV. As predicted, she paid more attention to Lee Eun-byeol, who confirmed his alibi. Right after that, she had a trip abroad. She was dodging more like it. Youngju found something unusual. Lee Eun-byeol returned to the country this morning and was taken to the prosecutor's office. She was interrogated in another room. She repeated that Mingyu was in a private room and laughed at the police officer for not able to afford a night at any club for his whole life. Besides, she showed them a video which was said to be filmed by Mingyu. At 23:17 o'clock, the officer immediately told Youngju. Mingyu knew the officers had no clue to arrest him. He gave her a cliché, which might work on the others, not her. He even wished them to catch the real culprit. Youngju said, "Your face wasn't on the video, how to prove that you filmed it?" Mingyu just left there without answering her. Heju demanded to withdraw from the case. When Youngju walked out of the interrogation room, he met a handsome man with well manners. He was an older prosecutor. As Heju was led by the suspect, he was worried that the case wouldn't be solved. Youngju didn't want him to interfere with her case. Young Woon said the culprit stupefied the victim with drugs before harming her. Then he hung her body on the handrail. In fact, Youngju knew what kind of drug was. It was often used in dental clinics. She was about to dig into the report of medicine management at Mingyu's clinic, but the superiors still refused to sign the search warrant. Therefore, she thought this was related to the high-ranking father of the suspect. Young Woon advised to find another way instead of asking for a search warrant. However, Youngju didn't listen to him. Jin Song's mother was released as it was her first time gambling. Until the next day, the captain informed Jin Song that the gambler dropped the case against him. In other words, someone paid a mediation fee of up to 10 million won to bail him out. Jin Song rushed to the gambler's sick room to ask about it. After a negotiation, he successfully got back the money. He came home in anger and got his brother by the collar. Jin Song furiously questioned why Jin Wu agreed to pay the meditation, or why he didn't ask for a car or a help to study abroad, or even burn this house down. It was because their mother always specially treated Jin Song. She even didn't allow Jin Wu to go to college. That was why Jin Wu failed his exam on purpose even though he was an excellent student. After releasing his anger, Jin Song went away. Jin Wu told his mother that he would return home soon after a trip to Seoul. He came to a coffee shop after visiting an exhibition. He slowly went upstairs before leaving the shop. Early the next morning, the staff saw a body on the second floor of the coffee shop. Getting the news, Young Woon immediately came to the crime scene. Looking around, he could be sure that the culprit in Youngju's case did it. The culprit hung the body on the handrail. Every details were the same. He then reported it to the deputy prosecutor. Based on the current clues, he guessed that this was a case of mass bloodbath. Thus, he wanted to investigate both cases and promised not to cause any troubles. In addition, he also requested the establishment of an investigation team and eventually received the support of the deputy prosecutor. Young-ju came to see him as soon as she heard the news, because she felt like he just stole her case. Young-woon told her again about everything from the method of crime and handling the body. Within 4 months, 2 identical murders occurred. From there, it can be seen that unless Korea pushes out criminals with terrible and degenerate psychology, it can only be a shameless crime. It would be inadequate to insist that Min-gyu was the killer. Agreed with his thoughts, Young-ju withdrew from the case and visited her mother in the countryside. Young-ju, Jin-sung, and Jin Wu grew up together. Next, the investigation team invited a blood tester to participate in the case. He analyzed that the only common was the victim's gender. The crime scenes were the places that everyone could come and go. He was pretty sure that the culprit was a stranger to fear. For the last 10 years, there was no similar case. Checking on the wounds, the culprit was said to be a skilled one. Hearing the analysis of the blood tester, no suspect or witness was seen through the camera. The stab on the second victim's body was left with salt and flour, and the weapon was a sashimi knife. Young-woon asked his team to learn about sashimi knife. Young-tae believed that might be a chef or a savvy cook, because normal families rarely use this type of knife. Soon after, they found the cooking video of Lee Eun-bile. She showed a set of knives and Min-gyu was seen in the video. Young-woon bought the same set and simulate the weapon. In the short time, National Search Bureau prepared a report on assessment. Either the depth of wound or the shape of the stab, and even the parts of the knife matched perfectly. In conclusion, the weapon was the same as one of the set of sashimi knife. Therefore, Young-woon examined Eun-bile's home to search for the weapon. He wanted to tell Young-ju in person when Young-tae was about to tell her. Young-woon and Young-ju once dated when they were students. As the gap and difference between their status, they couldn't stay together. Couldn't reach Young-ju on the phone, he went to the seashore. Jin Wu was catching fish near there. Young-woon slipped and twisted his ankle. Jin Wu took Young-woon to his eatery for treating the wound. Young-woon saw the set of knives in the kitchen, but he didn't give it a care. He kept wondering why Young-ju didn't pick up. Thanks to this, Jin Wu knew Young-woon was Young-ju's colleague. A while later, Young-ju and Jin-sung returned. She boasted Young-woon's profile to Jin brothers. He was top students at Seoul Law University. Also, he was the best student at the Judicial Training Academy, with a winning rate of up to 100%. Additionally, he was an elite prosecutor at the Central District Prosecutor's Office, the only son of Jin Group's chairwoman, who had contributed the most to the society for 10 years in a row. After the introduction, Young-woon needed her help to prove Min-gyu's sin, and he hoped she would handle the case together with him. Young-ju agreed without thinking. However, something unexpected happened in the interrogation room. Lee Eun-bile said one of the knives was missing. Young-tae read about it in the record. This means that Min-gyu cannot be brought to justice. Sitting on the rooftop, Jin Wu remembered what Young-ju talked about Young-woon. His eyes were filled with hatred. While Jin-sung was having dinner, Auntie Lee couldn't reach her daughter on the phone. Someone told Jin-sung that another victim lost her life, so he went straight to the crime scene. Obviously, the culprit was the same person. The victim was Auntie Lee's daughter. After hearing about the news, Young-woon and Young-ju returned to the village. Due to the characteristic of the case, it was transferred to Seoul Police Station, approved by the head of the police department. Jin-sung didn't agree, so he asked to join the investigation team. As for Young-woon, it was okay to have a local officer in the team. Young-ju agreed with him. The following day, Jin-sung told everyone about it before leaving home. His mother told him to keep safe while Jin Wu was pretty worried. Jin-sung supposed that the culprit wasn't the local people in his village. For the last 30 years, only 8 serious cases occurred in his college, which were all fighting and violence. There had never been a murder for all those years. Young-ju concurred with him because there was also her hometown. Young-woon asked everyone to find out the connection between Min-gyu and the village. Before the prosecutor finished, Jin-sung gave them a documentation. There was a villa near the crime scene, and the owner was Min-gyu's father. Thanks to this, Young-woon told Young-tae to check on Min-gyu's alibi and the victims' relationships, while Jin-sung paid attention to the results of the investigation by the National Search Bureau. When Jin-sung went to Min-gyu's dental clinic and met an assistant, the assistant felt tense when knowing Jin-sung was a police officer. Jin-sung questioned him about what he did on the day of the incident. It was his day off, so he stayed home playing games all day. The village chief texted Jin-sung, on that day, a delivery man hit a car and he took a photo of it. After receiving the photo, Jin-sung got inside and saw Min-gyu doing his job. It seemed that blood excited the dentist. Min-gyu's favorite drawings carried a violent vibe. Jin Song asked what Mingyu did during the course of 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the day of the crime. A woman showed up and confirmed that they were together at a hotel that day. Jin Song mentioned Unmasking on purpose, and filmed the argument between them. Knowing about Mingyu's womanizing personality, the woman told the truth. That she wasn't there with him on that day. The suspect was said to evade the investigation and had an intention to flee or destroy evidence. Thus, Jin Song could legally arrest Mingyu. Mingyu was taken to the police station. Both Youngju and Youngwoon thought Jin Song was a bit too much. If his lawyer sued for illegal detention, the investigation would also be suspended. Actually, Jin Song had an important clue in his hand. The car crashed by the delivery man belonged to Mingyu. Youngju showed Mingyu the photo and questioned him. Mingyu replied that he went to Seoul and lent his car to his friend. Yet, he couldn't remember who that was. It was true that Mingyu was going live at that time. He didn't lie at all. His lawyer also gave them his alibi. Due to the pressure during the investigation, Mingyu had a short-term memory loss, so he did not remember whom he lent his car. Jin Song always felt something wrong with Mingyu, whose car was near the crime scene on the same day. He didn't believe it was just a coincidence. Jin Wu saw Youngtae asking the victim's classmates. Shortly afterwards, he came home and burnt a box, and Youngtae witnessed it. He told Youngwoon about that. Jin Wu and the victim had a very good relationship. An hour before the crime, they appointed to see each other. Jin Wu called her 10 minutes before their appointment. Youngtae came to Jin Wu's restaurant when he was slicing sashimi, with a knife which was the same as the weapon. Jin Wu became the suspect when evidence against Mingyu appeared at Jin Wu's place. Jin Song held Youngwoon by the collar. He couldn't get why they treated his brother as a suspect. Youngwoon was frank that Jin Wu visited the art gallery, which was also the first crime scene. Jin Wu admitted it by himself without producing an alibi. He also came to the coffee shop where was the second crime scene on the day of the crime, and the third case occurred in the village where he was living. Checking on the list of knife purchasers, Jin Wu's name was noted, though the information wasn't confirmed. Youngwoon couldn't believe all of those were just a coincidence. More importantly, Jin Wu was using the lost knife of the previous suspect. Jin Song wondered if anyone who had such a knife was considered a suspect. Youngju was sure that Jin Wu couldn't be the culprit. Jin Song told Youngwoon to handle a case with intelligence, not sensibility. He also affirmed that he knew his younger brother very well. Youngwoon didn't allow Jin Song to solve the case with his sentiment. The team split up into two sides. Jin Song supposed that Youngwoon blamed Jin Wu to quickly close the case. Losing his temper, Jin Song criticized Youngwoon for accusing unjustly of an innocent person to get promotion, because Mingyu's father was a congressman. Besides, he also doubted that Youngwoon was on their side. Youngwoon asked Jin Song to be a true detective instead of making a noise. He also reminded Jin Song of finding a way to prove Jin Wu innocent. As a result, they almost fought. Youngwoon's heart rate monitor alerted him because he was having difficulty breathing. It is clear that he is suffering from a serious illness. Youngju followed him out of the office. Same as Jin Song, Youngju knew how good Jin Wu was because they grew up together. He couldn't commit such a crime. Youngwoo believed that the truth would be revealed. Early the next morning, Jin Song brought his brother's knife to the NFS and asked for verifying the weapon again. At the same time, Jin Wu was under interrogation. The CCTV in the first two crime scenes didn't work. In other words, Jin Wu had no alibi. Jin Wu bought the knife online. The seller appointed to meet him at the coffee shop, but he didn't show up. Checking on the online purchase, they verified it was true. However, they needed to wait until the following day for the transfer information. Jin Song's mother and her boyfriend acted as a witness. The name was Dr. Chu. He remembered the night when the student lost her life. He, Jin Wu, and Young Hee played poker until 1 a.m. Furthermore, the seating position he drew was exactly the same as Jin Wu's. Dr. Chu said Jin Wu left home for a while during the game, because his mother was hungry. So Jin Wu went out to see the victim for a moment on the way buying food. Along the way, his mother needed him to return right away, so he called his friend to cancel their appointment. She didn't pick up the phone and he just returned home. Three of them said the same things. After the interrogation, Youngju told Youngwoon to release Jin Wu. 20 minutes wasn't enough for Jin Wu to commit the crime and set up the scene. Youngwoo believed that human memory might be distorted. It was possible that Jin Wu left there longer than they thought. Youngju thought it was unnecessary to seize Jin Wu. Youngwoon reminded her of her job. As a prosecutor, do not allow emotions to get in the way. Not long after, Jin Song returned to the office with the report from NFS. The report results showed that the wound on the victim's body did not match Jin Wu's knife, because Jin Wu had his own way to sharpen his knives. On the upshot, he was released. Jin Song and his younger brother temporarily stayed at Youngju's house. They would take Jin Wu home the following day. Meanwhile, Young-tae discovered something new. Accordingly, Young Woon went to find Young Ju and Jin Song. The data in Jin Woo's broken phone was restored. He only took photos of women's ankles. Jin Wu saw them from afar. He tried to burn these photos in the blue box. When Jin Wu was young, his mother told him to wait while she went to buy ice cream. She wanted him to stay still. However, she had gone for a long time. Jin Wu got scared and went around to find her. He slipped and fell to the ground. And what he saw was the wrists of the passers-by. Though she eventually took him home, it still left Jin Wu with a trauma, a scar for life. And that was the reason why he secretly took those photos, which weren't considered an evidence of crime. Mija guessed Jin Wu had a hatred for women after being abandoned by his mother, a cause to take innocent women's life. Young Ju said his trauma wasn't an evidence against him. At that moment, Jin Song showed up with an important proof. Lee Eun-byeol admitted that she wasn't with Mingyu when the crime happened. She actually hung out with a newbie from 10 p.m. until midnight. In other words, the person who recorded the video as evidence was an actor. Checking on the CCTV, the actor was proved to come there. This concluded that when the incident occurred, Mingyu was not present in the nightclub, and Young Woon immediately told Mija to request a warrant for Mingyu's arrest. The next morning, Jin Song brought the arrest warrant to Mingyu's clinic. The suspect seemed to know it in advance and take a flight to America. After hearing the news, Young Woon immediately went to the office of the Chief Prosecutor General, as the suspect went abroad at that exact moment. His father, who was a congressman, couldn't get away from this because it was a confidential investigation. So the person who can reveal the arrest was definitely an insider. As soon as he heard this, the Chief Prosecutor General was extremely angry. Who knows, there are reporters reporting on this case. Young Woon could tell that was Ki Young. He decided to travel to America to catch Mingyu. As soon as Ki Young came to the office, Jin Song held him by the collar and criticized him for not having work ethics. Actually, Hee-ju was the one who revealed it. Young Woon tried to stop Jin Song. The journalist wanted to fight back after getting a punch in the face. Unexpectedly, Jin Song avoided it and his fist hit Young Woon straight in the chest. His smartwatch kept alarming. They stopped fighting. Young Woon's mother saw that. Seeing how dangerous his job was, Young Woon's family didn't want him to be a prosecutor. However, they couldn't persuade their son. Ki Young was close to Young Woon's family. Young Woon's mother couldn't tell whether Ki Young was a clean-fingered journalist or just the one who was jealous of Young Woon when writing the article. Not long after, Young Woon went abroad to arrest Mingyu. But the actor changed his testament. Lee Eun-byeol forced him to provide false testimony. In fact, the person filming the video was someone else. Korean law stipulates that extra-legal statements cannot be punished for creating evidence. So the lawyer could bring him out of there. Young Ju knew that was a rising star. At this time, revealing the scandal between him and Lee Eun-byeol was a disadvantage. Even though he was threatened, he had to clarify the truth. They also found the name of the knife seller, Lee Mi-jin. She was the sister of the nurse working for Mingyu's clinic. Young-tae found the IP address of that anonymous account in an internet cafe. It was near the nurse's home. So that Jin Song decided to investigate this person first. Soon, Jin Song and Young-tae went to the nurse's house and discovered many photos of the ankles, along with several bottles of anesthetics and a knife that looked like a weapon. He was a chef before, who had 2 previous convictions for harming women. All of these characteristics matched the culprit. At the same time, Jin Song also received a photo from the village chief. Lee Young was caught on the camera on the 3rd crime. There were many evidences against him. Young Woon told Young-tae to apply for urgent search warrant. From then on, the mass bloodbath would be a public inquiry. Young Ju felt something wrong. Soon, the wanted notices were everywhere on the street. All the TV channels noticed people to be careful. Lee Young looked at a direction on the rooftop as if he had made a decision. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, there was a car parking. The mysterious person in the car reported that he saw the culprit. Receiving the notice, Jin Song and Young-tae came to the hotel at once. But the room was extremely quiet, and there were an airfare and a will on the table. Going upstairs, Jin Song found Lee Young's body, who'd rather took his own life than being caught. Under examination, the handwriting was really Lee Young's. He admitted to be the culprit. Jin Song did not understand why he took his own life after preparing well for his escape. Jin Song wondered if he colluded with Mingyu. Lee Young wrote down all the details when committing the crimes, which were completely matched the clues they found. That meant they just solved the mass bloodbath. The prosecutor announced on TV that the culprit was Lee Young. Ki Young wondered why they could know he was the culprit. Because the deceased couldn't testify. Young Woon showed everyone the will. Jin Wu was pensive while watching the news. During the party, Young Woon felt a little bit sad. He wondered, if Lee Young didn't appear, What will happen to the prosecution and police in charge of the case? Was Jin Wu mistaken for a suspect? Young-ju didn't know how to comfort him. Returning home, Young-woon's parents persuaded him to quit his job and go to America to learn about business, because the future of the family would be his responsibility whether he agreed or not. He was their heir. He agreed to do as they wish once he decided to quit his job. After successfully solved the mass bloodbath, Jin Song was promoted and sent to work in Seoul. But they didn't know that this had been arranged before. Young-woon had coronary artery surgery. Recently, he suffered from 3 times of arrhythmia and 1 time of difficulty breathing. Doctors speculated that the possibility of heart failure was up to 85%. It required a surgery within the year. So his mother started the plan she had been planning for a long time. They gave Captain a few days off, and specially asked him to choose a rainy day. The mysterious person drove to Jin Woo's village, then patiently waited. Jin Song planned to return for a party with Jin Woo on occasion of his promotion. However, the head of the police station suddenly asked him out for dinner. Young-ju was given many tasks. They postponed the gathering until the following day. It was raining heavily at night, and the mysterious person had not yet left the village. The head of the police station was late as usual. Jin Woo received a phone call from his mother. She said Dr. Chu wanted to have sashimi. As it ran out of ingredients, Jin Woo went to the seashore to catch fish. But when Jin Woo drove away, he was followed by a mysterious person. Jang Mi, Young Hee, and Dr. Chu were at a karaoke. Dr. Chu tried to keep them there. He seemed to wait for something. The mysterious person stood in Jin Woo's way back home. He attacked Jin Woo. Young Hee got a phone call. In the meantime, Jin Song finished his dinner. His mother called him. Young-ju also heard the bad news about Jin Woo. The village chief took seriously injured Jin Woo to the hospital. Jin Song told her to ask for Young-woon's help, but he couldn't reach him on the phone. It was too urgent, so she came to see Young-woon's mother. She didn't want to help easily. Young-woon explained it to his mother, that the patient was his colleague's brother, and she finally agreed to help. That night, Jin Woo was transferred to Jinjin Hospital. According to the doctor, despite his blood pressure was high, his vital signs were very stable. However, the head was seriously damaged, leading to brain edema. Cerebral edema can cause increased intracranial pressure, leading to brain damage. The only treatment is a wide craniectomy to relieve intracranial pressure. The surgery was successful. Young-woon's mother told them to wait to know whether Jin Woo could wake up or not. If there was no change after a few days, it was a high possibility of brain death. People in a vegetative state at least have a chance to wake up. Brain death is the permanent, irreversible, and complete loss of brain function. Jin Woo's state made Young Hee regret about treating him worse than Jin Song. She fed him with leftover. Put on him Jin Song's old clothes and many things more. Remaining calm, Jin Song didn't believe that was just an accident. He was going to the crime scene to dig into the case. As soon as he left the hospital, Young-ju told Young-woon everything. Young-woon was very sorry for treating Jin Woo as a suspect. So he asked his mother to save Jin Woo. Jin Song arrived at the scene of the accident. The superiors announced that Jin Woo's case was closed, because the first person to report to the police was a patrol. The heavy rain that day washed the scene. There were nothing suspicious. Something dazzled his eyes. He picked up a pin. The prosecutor general sent Young-woon abroad to train for a year. As a reward for solving the mass bloodbath, Young-woon had to follow the order, though he didn't want it. He encountered Ki-young in front of the prosecutor's office. Ki-young admired Young-woon for the award. After Young-woon left, his facial expression changed. At an eatery, Young-ju said Jin Woo might wake up somehow. Young-ju's father abused her and her mother. Couldn't stand it anymore. Young-ju wanted to end her own life. Jin Woo saved her life and they became close friends. That night, Young-woon went to the hospital to say goodbye to Young-ju. He knew it was his mother's impact on the award of training abroad. Young-woon was the only son in the family. Young-woon's father reminded him of his special existence. That night, Young-woon's mother came to Jin Woo's room. Jin Woo's vital signs were fine. At the same time, Jin Song wanted to visit his brother. Yet, the bodyguards didn't allow him. Under the order of Young-woon's mother, Young-woon's mother appeared in the hallway, making an excuse of the best treatment for the patient. She didn't let Jin Song visit his brother. Even family wasn't allowed. Though Jin Woo was being specially treated, Young-ju knew it was the hospital's rule. Taking a step back would be better than having a conflict with the hospital. They had no idea that Jin Woo was going to die. His eye pupils did not react to light reflection. The female doctor suggested another surgery due to the brain death. Couldn't wait any longer, Young-woon's mother declared that Jin Woo had a brain death. The deputy director said, as a matter of course, patients like Jin Woo usually donate their organs to those who were waiting for organ transplants. giving hope before leaving the world. Jin Wu's mother said he signed on the consent for organ donation. A young man donated his organs to save 9 people after a car accident. Jin Wu was extremely touched by that, so he registered to be an organ donor. As that was Jin Wu's wish, Jin Song agreed to fulfill his hope. The next day, he and Jin Wu's mother signed an organ donation agreement except the brain at the hospital. Not long after Jin Wu's ceremony ended, Jin Song and Young Ju scattered the ashes of Jin Wu on the sea. Jin Wu disappeared from this world. A year later, Jin Wu encountered Mingyu on the flight back to South Korea. But he didn't pay attention to Mingyu. It was Jin Wu's death anniversary. Young Ju and Jin Song were on the way to their hometown. Before their departure, she received a text from Young Woon. They met at a coffee shop. Young Ju could feel that Young Woon had changed. He looked better and even asked her out for a drink. Previously, Young Woon rarely drank alcohol due to his heart disease. Young Ju wondered what happened when he lived abroad. She noticed his feelings. He seemed to cover something unusual. But he explained that he wanted to taste liquor. Young Ju told him about the death anniversary of Jin Wu, and then said goodbye. In the new building constructed by the group, Young Woon's mother gave Ki-young an apartment. Leader Kim, who was considered his family, just moved in. This statement cannot help but make people suspect the shoddiness of these two people. Young Woon returned home after playing basketball. His heart disease was totally cured. When Jin Woo's death anniversary ended, they drove back to Seoul. Jin Song came to his place after taking Young Ju home. At that time, he received a video, which recorded someone was harming Jin Wu. Jin Song was stunned. Someone saw the culprit took his brother's life. Young Ju suggested a video verification first. NFS verified it was real. They said the IP was fake, also they couldn't see the culprit's face. They couldn't trace who sent it. Afterwards, Jin Song returned to the police station in his hometown. He showed his former colleagues the video. He didn't understand why the witness knew he was Jin Woo's brother, and only sent him the video. Former colleagues speculated that it might be one of the villagers who knew they were brothers. He suggested starting with villagers who were high-tech. Additionally, Jin Song wanted to know if any outsiders came to the village on that day, but no one kept surveillance footage for a year. The inns and homestays might still save the information on the customers and purchase, which might be helpful. Everyone was determined to make it clear together. In the evening, Jin Song returned home and asked his mother if there were any strangers came to their eatery on that day. She only remembered going to the karaoke with Young Ju's mother and Dr. Chu. She called Jin Wu as Dr. Chu wanted to have sashimi. And she stayed there a little longer before coming back. Dr. Chu gave her 3 million won at Jin Wu's funeral. She thought he was blaming himself. From then on, he hadn't come back to the village yet. Jin Song said it was nothing and told his mother to comfort Dr. Chu. He then gave his mother a pin and she said it didn't belong to Jin Wu. It was a suit pin and Jin Wu didn't have a suit. Young Woon's mother, the owner of Jinjin Hospital, had become a leader in the field of pancreas transplant surgery. It was Captain Kim who found the 2 best experts in this field. This category was sponsored by a foreign friend, but when Ki-young wrote an article when attending the press conference, he posed questions about the secret motive of Jinjin Hospital's $10 billion donation. The article quickly became popular, making the public suspicious of it. Everyone demanded a careful investigation. Kim immediately asked the editorial office to remove the article. This pissed off Ki-young. However, he smiled, thinking of something else. Coming back to Seoul Police Department, Jin Song asked Youngtae about the pin. Youngtae could tell this pin was costly, because it was custom-made. He had seen the brand in a magazine. Jin Song came to the store of the brand. The seller said that this pin was a limited edition on the 75th anniversary of the brand. Only 5 pairs on the market. Jin Song saw a family name on the list of purchase, Mingyu. Young Woon and Young Ju were attending a press conference on a serious crime. Right on the beginning, Young Ju received a message on the process of the crime. Plus a warning, the culprit was actually someone else. They realized their failure on solving the case, so that they postponed the press conference. Jin Song followed Mingyu all day and discovered that he had 2 phones. Young Woon convened a meeting at the office. He said both videos sent from foreign IP, recorded by the same phone. It must have been from one person. Jin Song told everyone about the pin. However, Mingyu left the country before Jin Woo's death. He suggested verifying immigration records first. Young Ju saw the culprit wearing a watch, which was the same as Mingyu's. It was way too suspicious. Young Woon and Young Ju decided to re-investigate the case. But when the chief prosecutor and deputy prosecutor heard about it, they were worried about their reputation and the public pressure when the case was re-investigated. They would rather let the real culprit be free rather and keep it a secret. They had no idea that Young-ju was recording their conversation. If they didn't agree with her, she would put the recording into public. For the sake of his dignity, the chief prosecutor agreed. As long as they carried it out silently. The next day, members of the old team arrived in time. Hee-ju could join them thanks to her dad's power. Mingyu was really abroad when Jin Wu lost his life. Young-woon wanted to find the video sender first and the one who seduced Jin-woon to buy the knife. It wasn't easy because the IP was from overseas. Young-woon wondered why Lee Young admitted to be the only culprit. He wanted the police to search thoroughly Lee Young's house. Soon, Young-tae and Jin Song found out that, after Lee Young's death, his sister could pay all their mother's hospital fee. And also bought an apartment. His sister got a tremble. Their family's future was destroyed when Lee Young had 2 previous convictions. One day, he suddenly showed up with a bag full of money and bid a farewell. He meant to leave the country. She just took a big amount of savings from her brother. She thought he was going to work on an offshore fishing boat in advance. Yet, a few days later she heard about his death. After the talk with her, Young-tae dug into people around Lee Young. Only Mingyu could give Lee Young such a big amount of money. Basically, Lee Young took the blame for Mingyu, as it was a transaction in cash. There was no evidence of bribery. Furthermore, Mingyu was proved not to be present at the crime scene. Amidst of their talk, they received a fax of the watch examination result. The watch that Mingyu wore was the same type as the watch in the video. Although there were enough conditions for arrest, there was no direct evidence to prove Mingyu's crime, to keep Mingyu from going abroad like the last time. Young-woon required Young-tae and Jin Song to supervise Mingyu. Once an arrest warrant was obtained, the subject would be immediately arrested. Everyone realized that Young-woon was no longer cold as he had been. They didn't expect that Hee-ju was so gossipy. He told Ki-young all about their investigation. Knowing that Hee-ju had feelings for Young-woon, Ki-young offered a good deal. Team leader Kim heard that Young-woon was trying to get a warrant for Mingyu's arrest. Young-woon's mother knew Mingyu was related. To stop Mingyu from causing troubles to her, she ordered Kim to bribe Mingyu. The investigation team didn't get the approval of the arrest warrant yet, while Jin Song and Young-tae were waiting for the news. They saw Captain Kim going into Bae's house with 2 boxes of gifts. As soon as Kim came in, Mingyu went out. He gave Bae the gifts and mentioned the request of Jong-suk. Bae was sure that the investigation team wouldn't get the approval of the warrant arrest. He was satisfied with the amount of money. Young-tae and Jin Song followed Mingyu to a restaurant. Mingyu and his girlfriend were having dinner. However, he kept staring at the waitress's thighs, which scared the waitress. As a result, she accidentally poured the water on his pants. When Mingyu was about to slap the waitress, Young-tae heard that the warrant arrest was disapproved. Couldn't bear it, Jin Song went straight to the restaurant and asked the waitress to do something. Someone texted Mingyu that the police was trying to get him. Before Mingyu could delete the message, Jin Song handcuffed him. He beat Mingyu up in the toilet to revenge for the waitress. Young-tae came to stop Jin Song. Mingyu was taken to the hospital. Jin Song stole Mingyu's second phone when beating him. The mysterious person was calling Mingyu. That was Ki-young. Thanks to Bae's interference. Young-ju reproached Jin Song for what he did. Jin Song's punch caused trouble to the team. Young-woon apologized to Bae. Bae threatened to report it to the General Police Department. Back to the office, Young-woon expressed his anger to Jin Song. Jin Song gave them Mingyu's second phone. Everyone was excited about that. Young-woon wondered how to unlock the phone. Actually, Jin Song asked the waitress for the wine bottle with Mingyu's fingerprint. They used 3D printing technology to make a fake finger of Mingyu. And it really worked. Only one phone number was saved. All the messages were deleted, except for the last message that Mingyu had no time to delete. Someone told him the police was applying for the warrant arrest. Everyone wondered why the information was out. Jin Song believed that Hee-ju revealed it. Young-woon told him not to make a conclusion without an evidence. Next, he asked a team member to restore the data for more evidences. However, all the data had been destroyed. Hee-ju arrived with a file. All the victims had treatments at Jinjin Hospital. Young-woon didn't get why she got it. Young-woon's mother helped her get it. Young-woon told her that someone revealed to Mingyu about the warrant arrest. Hee-ju said it was Ki-young. And everyone was sure that Hee-ju revealed the information. Young-woon decided to summon Ki-young. The news was reporting on police enforcement of the law through violence and human rights violations. Young-woon and Young-ju were disciplined at the chief prosecutor's office. Under pressure from public opinion, the chief prosecutor ordered Young-woon to close the case by concluding Lee Young as the culprit. Concurrently, he would dismiss the team. Young-woon asked him to let them continue the investigation. The chief prosecutor threatened to fire Young-woon if he didn't obey his senior. Young Woon had no choice but to agree, on a condition that Jin Song wouldn't be accused of violence. And finally the chief prosecutor agreed to his condition. Seeing the news about the disbandment of the investigation team written by Ki Young, Jin Song grew cross. Young Woon announced their team dismissal. Youngtae and Jae In-song were informed that they had been transferred. Jin Song felt very uncomfortable and blamed Young Woon during the meal. Youngtae explained to Jin Song that Young Woon gave up on the case to save them. Mingyu sued them for violent enforcement of the law. If Young Woon didn't dismiss the team, they would have been in abeyance. Young Woon met up with Ki Young. Ki Young said the editor-in-chief forced him to write the article. Young Woon was suspended from work for 3 months due to Ki Young's article. Other members of the team were also suspended one after another. Therefore, he was wondering to quit his job. Ki Young told Young Woon not to, as it was him who told other reporters about the warrant arrest, referring that he wasn't the one who alerted Mingyu. Youngtae and Jin Song were sent to the Ministry of Transport and became traffic police. When they were changing the uniform, Young Woon invited them to have dinner at his home. Jin Song wasn't used to be served during a meal. Young Woon noticed him. To make it more comfortable for them, Young Woon told the servants to get out. After the meal, Young Woon said they were allowed to investigate the case in silence. Jin Song had a man observe Mingyu at the hospital. Young Woon also told everyone about his relationship with Ki Young. His mother abandoned him when he was 2. Since his secondary school, Young Woon family sponsored Ki Young. From then on, they considered each other brothers. The other day, Ki Young admitted to tell all the reports about the warrant arrest. Jin Song still doubted it. Young Ju said Ki Young used the same perfume as Young Woon's. Furthermore, she could realize that Ki Young was extremely jealous of Young Woon. Young Woon didn't think that jealousy was a motive of committing crime. Kim told Ki Young that Jong Suk was disappointed, not because Ki Young wrote an article about the warrant arrest. It was because he wrote many things wrong about her hospital. This was clearly not what a reporter should do. Jin Song received a phone call during work. He left his position during the working hour to welcome his friend to Seoul. He showed Jin Song a photo taken on the day Jin Wu died by a blogger, which surprised Jin Song. Both Young Woon and Young Ju realized Ki Young in the photo. That means Ki Young might have been the culprit. Furthermore, while investigating Ki Young's place, Jin Song also heard very interesting news. The security guard who worked there for 10 years told Jin Song that he had never seen any guests come to Ki Young's house. Jin Song was too curious to dig into his home. However, they didn't have a search warrant. Jin Song couldn't wait for the warrant as Ki Young was there on the day Jin Wu died. If he wasn't the culprit, he would have been the witness. Therefore, he must find the culprit. After that, Jin Song went to the internet cafe near Ki Young's home. He showed the owner Ki Young's photos and asked if he knew the guy. Seeing the skull on his shirt, the owner remembered that he usually came there a year ago. Jin Song asked Hee-ju for the password to Ki Young's condo. She wasn't that close to Ki Young. Jin Song was disappointed and turned around. Hee-ju wondered how she could help him. Next, Hee-ju asked to see Ki Young at a nightclub. While Jin Song was putting the security guard off the scent, Youngtae and a locksmith tried to unlock the door. Jin Song successfully broke into Ki Young's condo. Ki Young at the nightclub could see them through the camera. Jin Song didn't know that Ki Young was watching everything. A room in the condo was exactly the same as Young Woon's home office, even the family photos on the table. That was much more than jealousy. It was a mental illness. Jin Song entered a weirder room, where displayed different types of knives and even chloroform. He even hung the evidences of the mass bloodbath on the wall. Jin Song was worried about Hee-ju. Ki Young was watching them in his car. As soon as Hee-ju got in the car, Jin Song called her. He told her to pretend to talk to someone else and not to hang up. Also, he asked her to prepare the stun gun. Thanks to Jin Song's warning, she lied to Ki Young that she forgot something in the convenience store. Yet, Ki Young locked the door. Feeling something wrong, Hee-ju groped for her stun gun but it was gone. Ki Young held it and wondered if she was looking for this. Ki Young had taken her stun gun at the nightclub. When Jin Song arrived at the convenience store, he couldn't see her anywhere. He kept calling her, and found her phone in the trash can. Ki Young rendered Hee-ju unconscious with her own stun gun. The chief prosecutor was having dinner at Young Woon's home. He hopes Young Woon and Hee-ju would get married soon. Young Woon's mother really wanted Hee-ju to be her daughter-in-law. Young Woon asked his parents to get out for a while. He told the chief prosecutor that Hee-ju was kidnapped. The chief prosecutor would use all his power to help Young Woon, as long as he could bring her home safe. Young Woon's parents were shocked at the news. His mother ordered Kim to find Ki Young before the police. The police then issued a search warrant with a reward of up to 100 million won. The wanted notice was on the mass media. One day, the nurse at Dr. Chu's clinic secretly gave Jin Song's mother a paper. This was the diary he wrote when spying on Jin Wu. The nurse saw it when using Dr. Chu's computer on the sly. Jin Song's mother wondered why he spied on Jin Wu. The nurse was sure that Dr. Chu had feelings for Jin Wu. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain why he wrote a diary every day only about Jin Wu. Dr. Chu came there right after the nurse left. Youngju's mother showed him the diary. He realized it was written by him. He was too scared to drop the bouquet. He thought they discovered his secret. Jin Song's mother asked if he had feelings for her late son. As they mistook him a gay, he hastily denied it. He said Jin Wu was like his son who was living abroad. That was why he cared about Jin Wu. Through the General Department's computer analysis, the investigation team discovered that Ki-young had logged in several places. He kept a video recording how Mingyu harmed his wife, and another filming the attack on Jin Wu. It was Ki-young who sent them the videos. But he wasn't the culprit, nor the man who attacked Jin Wu. First of all, they were sure that Mingyu harmed his wife. Yet, he had an alibi when the next crimes happened. To cover up his guilt, Mingyu bought Li Young off to create a mass bloodbath. Young Woon agreed with that. And Ki-young was the mastermind who planned all of this. So he kidnapped Hee-ju when being discovered. At the hospital, Mingyu heard that Ki-young was wanted for kidnapping Hee-ju. He immediately called his father to help him flee abroad. Jin Song promptly went to the hospital to tell Mingyu that he had been banned from leaving the country, because the police found enough evidences to prove that he was an accomplice. Mingyu called his lawyer. Jin Song said they had enough reasons to imprison Mingyu. Captain Kim heard their whole conversation. Mingyu would keep silence until his lawyer came. Jin Song put a bug in Mingyu's ear and ordered Mingyu to cooperate with police. As Mingyu didn't agree, Jin Song showed him the arrest warrant. If he refused, he would be imprisoned. Jin Song said Ki-young kidnapped the chief prosecutor's daughter. As the whole country knew about that, Mingyu's father couldn't save him. If they couldn't catch Ki-young, Mingyu would be declared the culprit. Mingyu put the bug back in his ear. Not long after, a delivery man in uniform walked towards Mingyu's suck room. He ran away when seeing two police officers watching the room. Captain Kim saw this on the camera, and the supervisor immediately rushed to the scene. Getting warned, Jin Song rushed to the hospital's back door. He jumped and knocked down the delivery man. Taking his mask off, he realized that wasn't Ki-young. The delivery man said he was requested to deliver a cake to Mingyu. He got a big payment and only needed to put it in front of the room. And he just did what he was told. Kim told his men to withdraw because that man wasn't Ki-young. Jin Song angrily asked Mingyu if Ki-young just passed by. Mingyu said he just took the birthday cake. Actually, 30 minutes before the chase after the delivery man, Ki-young entered the room in a doctor's coat. He took off the bug in Mingyu's ear and asked for Mingyu's help. If Mingyu dared to refuse, he would send the video to the police. After threatening Mingyu, he immediately turned around and left the room. To do what Ki-young asked for, Mingyu wanted to be discharged from the hospital. The police kept watching Mingyu from the outside of his home 24/7. Mingyu was finding a way to finish his mission, and he sent a text to someone. A woman got off a taxi and visited Mingyu. The officers called Jin Song. He told them to let her in after the frisk was complete. Jin Song felt strange about everything. No matter how jealous Ki-young was of Young Woon, he didn't need to plan it all. Before being kidnapped, Hee-ju brought a file. The three victims received treatment at Jinjin Hospital. Ki-young made it hard for Young Woon at the crucial moments. Everything Ki-young did was related to Young Woon. This was probably not simple his jealousy. There must have been a secret between them. The officers stayed outside of Mingyu's home all day long. A car stopped at the gate. They came close and saw Mingyu's father. Soon after, the driver left the house because his working time was over. The officers let him go because there was no one else in the car. Jin Song also arrived and heard about the driver. Feeling something wrong, he entered the house. Mingyu was actually in the car, so Jin Song informed his colleagues to stop the car. Meanwhile, Youngju talked to her mother on the phone. Her mother told her to take the seafood from the manager of the building. As soon as she walked out of home, someone threatened her. That was Mingyu. Young Woon questioned the driver after Youngju was missing. To answer the questions, the driver claimed that he knew nothing. He just dropped Mingyu at the subway. However, he didn't tell Young Woon where it was, even though Young Woon warned him about the punishment he might take. he still kept silence. Jin Song decided to take an action. Jin Song praised the driver's behavior. Without his testimony, they couldn't know how much money that Bei misappropriated. The driver was stunned because he never reported it. After that, Jin Song said he knew how good the relationship between Bei and gangsters were. Jin Song believed the driver, but would Bei believe in him? What if Bei would harm his family? Jin Song directly asked the driver how Mingyu kidnapped Young Ju. Thinking for a while, the driver told Jin Song that he acted as a delivery man when calling Young Ju. As Young Ju was at home, he told Mingyu her location. Mingyu laid in the car's trunk. The driver dropped Mingyu in Cheongdamdong. Soon, the officers found out the car that Mingyu was driving. In the meantime, Mingyu was taking Young Ju to Ki-young's place. She woke up and took off the tape. When Mingyu was off guard, Young Ju covered his head with her shirt. Couldn't see the way, Mingyu crashed the barriers. Young Ju tried to run away from him. Another car was coming. Waving to ask for a lift, she got in the car when it stopped. When the driver turned around, she realized that was Ki-young. She failed to escape after all. As Mingyu couldn't track down Mingyu's position, he drove there. Luckily, he could stop Young Ju from escaping. They took her to a villa. The police officers found Mingyu's car. No one in the car. And there was no CCTV around. Young Wu knew Mingyu's villa was near. He must be there. In the villa, Ki-young gave Mingyu the evidence of his crime. Mingyu asked Ki-young if he kept any copy. Ki-young said they were on the same boat, so he had no reason to betray Mingyu. In fact, Ki-young filmed to shift all the blame on Mingyu. Mingyu blamed Ki-young for being too ostentatious to be exposed. It referred to his self-depreciation. Ki-young was discontent with Cha family and he tried to destroy them. By hurting Young Woon, he had found a way to break Young Woon's heart, which was to take Young Ju's life. Young Woon led many officers to the villa. Through the window, they could see two people there. Storming into the room, Jin Song realized that they weren't Mingyu and Ki-young. They actually were in Young Woon's villa. Mingyu thought Ki-young was committing a perfect crime. He was afraid of being imprisoned for kidnapping people. However, Ki-young claimed that he was still committing a perfect crime. The police knew who was the culprit but couldn't catch him. That was really a perfect crime. He told Mingyu all about his plan on escaping. They would disguise themselves as people from the Middle East, using fake passports to fly to Arabia, and taking another flight to Belarus. The country didn't allow the extradition, so they just needed to change their names before going back to Korea. To find more clues, Young Woon asked a profiler for a help. Going around Ki-young's house, the profiler said he was ostentatious. He considered himself a genius who wouldn't be caught. That was why he was challenging the police. Jin Song gave the profiler the only difference in the duplicate room. Young Woon said it was taken when Ki-young won the swimming race. At that time, Ki-young was very happy. The profiler said he collected the moments when he could win Young Woon. Immediately, Young Woon supposed that he might be in his villa. Ki-young took Hee-ju to the pool and filled it up. The pool would be filled within an hour. He wasn't sure that Young Woon could find her before that. He then left her in the middle of the pool. Young Woon and Jin Song arrived at the villa. Jin Song saw someone struggling in the pool. Both Jin Song and Young Woon jumped into the pool to save Young Ju. Young Woon untied Young Ju while Jin Song went to find Hee-ju. Jin Song found Hee-ju and Mingyu in the basement. Before their arrival, Ki-young took Mingyu to the basement. Mingyu brought a meal to Hee-ju and intended to harm her. He would enjoy it after she had her last meal. However, Ki-young locked him down. Mingyu screamed at Ki-young while Ki-young was kidding him from outside. He said Young Woon could keep his face when one of them was caught. Taking his father as an excuse, Mingyu required the officers to release him. Jin Song gave him a punch and asked where Ki-young was. Mingyu said a betrayal wouldn't disclose his position. Jin Song got what he meant. Ki-young was going to leave the country in a plane. Ki-young disguised himself as a Muslim and used a fake passport to successfully get a boarding pass. Before he could board the plane, two people dressed in Muslim clothes stopped him. One of them attached a patch on his neck. He was too weak to stand on his own feet. The man looked at the camera and nodded his head. Captain Kim sent them. He ordered them through a walkie-talkie. Meanwhile, Jin Song arrived at the airport. Seeing Jin Song, Ki-young tried his best to attract his attention. Unfortunately, he failed. A mysterious woman also arrived at the airport. She seemed to know Jin Wu. She wrote his name on a book. Ki-young showed her the video of the attack on Jin Wu, which completely shocked her. She was staying in a hotel facing Jinjin Hospital. The woman decided to carry out her revenge plan. The team members were happy when Young Ju and Hee-ju were saved. Young Woon heard that Ki-young's body was found in suburb. The investigation team came to the scene and saw the burnt car. A staff found a passport and a phone nearby. The passport's owner was Ki-young. Forensic doctors recovered bone fragments found at the scene. Although bones and fingerprints were destroyed due to high temperatures, they still said that was really Ki-young thanks to the dental record. Jin Song didn't buy into it. Young Woon unlocked Ki-young's phone and saw a video in which Ki-young said he wanted to end his life. He also bid a farewell to Young Woon. In the meantime, the mysterious woman saw Young Woon's mother at a restaurant. She gave Jong-suk an envelope, in which was the money that Jong-suk gave her years ago. The woman didn't spend it, so she returned it to Jong-suk. Besides, she was about to tell Young Woon's father that his son lived well. Young Woon's mother wondered why. The mysterious woman said she set up an exhibition in Korea and invited Jong-suk and Young Woon there. The woman believed it was time to let Jin Wu see his real father. Her appearance worried Jong-suk. However, she didn't know Jin Wu had died. At the prosecutor's office, Young Woon wanted to interrogate Mingyu. Young-ju asked him when he and Ki-young together planned on the mass bloodbath. Mingyu claimed himself a victim. A year before the first crime, Ki-young came to see Mingyu at his dental clinic. During their drink, Mingyu told Ki-young about his hatred for his wife, and he wanted to get away from his life forever. So that he asked if Ki-young knew any assassin. Ki-young planned everything for Mingyu. He totally found the length of Mingyu's feet. Also, he helped Mingyu escape by committing more crimes. If only Mingyu's wife lost her life, Mingyu would become the #1 suspect. Once they could turn her into a victim in a mass bloodbath, they could perfectly escape punishment. Ki-young offered Lee Young's life for Mingyu. Lee Young was accepted to work at Mingyu's dental clinic. Mingyu was trying to shift all the blame on Ki-young and Lee Young. He said Ki-young ordered Lee Young to do everything. Young-ju showed him the video recording how he took his wife's life, which she found at Ki-young's place. It pissed Mingyu off. He cursed Ki-young. After talking with his lawyer, Mingyu admitted that he took his wife's life. That day, he took Unbile to the nightclub. They stood in the hall for a while to create an alibi. Ki-young brought the weapon to the gallery first. Mingyu then sneaked out from the back door of the nightclub, where there was no camera, but near the gallery. He then took the available weapon and got in. When his wife was off guard, he gave her a jab and she went under. She lost her life in a bloodbath. But he didn't know Ki-young was filming behind the door. Mingyu said Lee Young committed the following crimes. Lee Young and Ki-young both protested against Mingyu. Mingyu was blaming everything on Lee Young. She knew Mingyu shifted the blame on the deceased man to reduce his own guilt. Mingyu insisted that he didn't take their lives. If it was really him, Ki-young would have filmed it. The case was solved in the end. Mingyu was imprisoned and declared an accomplice. Ki-young left the world so he wouldn't be prosecuted. However, Young Woon was still suspicious of Ki-young's death. The chief said Ki-young and Lee Young took their own life. Furthermore, Ki-young's death was on the news. People were praising them. Young-ju said Ki-young was a witness of Jin Woo's death. It was possible that someone took his life and he himself faked his own death. The chief prosecutor agreed to let Young Woon dig deeper into it. He asked Young Woon to rest for a few days first. One day, Jin Song's mother dreamt of Jin Woo. So she remembered Jin Woo's birthday. Young-ju's mother wondered whose birthday it was. Jin Song's mother said she dreamt of Jin Woo and remembered his birthday. Young-ju's mother said it wasn't. Because Jin Song and Jin Woo were born in the same day. Jin Song's mother told her about Jin Woo's real birthday. To save money, she threw birthday parties for them both on the same day. She asked Young-ju's mother not to tell Jin Song. Otherwise, she couldn't face him. Young-ju's mother promised to keep it a secret. However, she told Dr. Chu as soon as leaving the eatery. Dr. Chu wanted to prepare a birthday party for Jin Woo. He would bring Jin Woo's favorite cake in the evening. Jin Song's mother prepared a hearty meal and Dr. Chu brought along Jin Woo's favorite cake. When they were about to eat, Jin Song and Young-ju came. Jin Song wondered whose birthday it was. The mothers said it was Dr. Chu's birthday. Couldn't hide the truth anymore. Young-ju's mother said it was Jin Woo's birthday. Jin Song's mother said she misremembered it. Jin Song realized these were all Jin Woo's favorite dishes. Jin Woo also loved mint birthday cake. Young-ju's mother brought Dr. Chu and Young-ju out. Jin Song's mother told him the truth that she adopted Jin Woo. During her pregnancy, she lived in Seoul. And her neighbor was a beautiful student. Her parents owned a lot of money but they died before clearing their debt. So she worked to pay the debt during college time. Feeling bad for her, Jin Song's mother often had meals with her. Before moving to the countryside, she gave the student a pair of shoes and her address. Find me at this address if you need help. A couple of years later, she appeared with a kid. Her life was so miserable. Jin Song's mother let her work at her eatery. One day on the beach, Jin Song's mother could see how painful the student felt when she looked. A few days later, the student jumped into the sea. Her body wasn't found. Jin Song's mother had no courage to take Jin Wu to an orphanage. When she registered for Jin Wu's birthday, she wrote down Jin Song's birthday as she didn't know Jin Wu's one. She only found out his real birthday when rearranging his mother's items. When Jin Wu was a high school student, his mother showed up out of nowhere. She was saved by a man. After that, they got married. Jin Song wondered why Jin Wu didn't go with his mother. Jin Wu did say that he wanted to live with them. If he really left this village, he wouldn't have lost his life. Jin Song told Young Ju all about it. He blamed himself for not taking good care of Jin Wu. On the contrary, Jin Wu always took good care of him. An older brother like him even didn't know how he died. It was his fault. Young Ju comforted Jin Song, "You're Jin Wu's brother. It's not your fault." Jin Wu wouldn't be happy if he kept blaming himself. Jin Song was determined to find the truth about Jin Wu's death. During the meal, Young Woon told his parents to let him marry Young Ju. His parents were surprised. Because they wanted Hee Ju, daughter of the chief prosecutor, to be their daughter-in-law. He asked them to respect his choice. Then he went to Young Ju's village to find her. He asked for her hand. Young Ju was so surprised when he asked for her hand instead of confessing his love. She admitted her feelings for her, but it was too soon to get married. Until when the truth about Jin Wu's death was revealed, she would give him an answer. Young Woon had to tell her one thing before that. His heart disease was cured. When he was in America, he had a heart transplant. Young Ju also loved his defects and wounds. Jin Song asked his mother about a photo carefully kept by Jin Wu. Had ever Jin Wu told you about it? Years ago, Jin Wu's real mother told him that. His father had the same statue in his home. He once went there but he couldn't meet his father. Jin Song's mother only knew the name of Jin Wu's mother, who studied fine arts at Seoul University. That was everything she knew. Then they talked about Dr. Chu's care for Jin Wu. Jin Song's mother showed him Dr. Chu's diary. Jin Song felt something wrong. It was a report on surveillance, not a diary. Jin Song went to see Dr. Chu and asked him why he spied on Jin Wu. Dr. Chu hesitantly replied that it was the order from Captain Kim of Jinjin Hospital. He also gave Jin Song a photo of Kim. Jin Song realized that Kim was the right-hand man of Young Woon's parents. Next, he asked Kim why he ordered Dr. Chu to spy on Jin Wu. Kim said it related to Jinjin Hospital's research. As it was a business secret, Kim couldn't show it to him when he asked. Jin Song posed another question. Where were you on the night Jin Wu was attacked? Reviewing his schedule, Kim claimed he wasn't there. He gave Jin Song his card visit and promised to help if Jin Song needed. Returning to the police station, Jin Song told Youngtae about that. Kim answered Ji Song smoothly, as if everything had been prepared in advance. That made Jin Song even more suspicious. Youngtae said Kim was once a member of the Special Insect Soldiers Department, and he was contacting his friend to ask for more about Kim, thanks to Youngtae's connection. He learned that Dr. Chu was prosecuted for a medical accident. Jinjin Hospital then helped him take care of this. The lawyer of Ki-young came to see the investigation team, who was also Ki-young's heir. Though he brought an inheritance agreement, the team was still very suspicious. Normally, family members and relatives would be the heirs. Why was Ki-young's property inherited by his lawyer? Lawyer Hong explained that their mothers were good friends, and Ki-young had no other relatives except him. Ki-young asked to see him at a bar and let him be his heir. Lawyer Hong thought he was kidding. Ki-young said he might disappear one day, so he needed an heir. Though he wasn't rich, he didn't want his asset to be seized, and he had a condition: that Hong would visit the grave of Ki-young's mother on her death anniversary. Lawyer Hong said their mothers were models. At night, Jin Song told Young Ju about what he got. He believed that the research mentioned by Kim was fake, so he wanted to share with Young Woon. Young Ju presumed that Young Woon couldn't withstand it. This bout, Young Ju let Jin Song know about Young Woon heart disease. He had a surgery last year. Jin Song was sorry for the conflict between them. Young Ju didn't want him to blame himself. Besides, she asked him to share the information with Young Woon. The following day, Jin Song found Kim's former colleague. He said Captain Kim was the best in the Special Force team. He always achieved maximum scores for all the tests. He got injured during an overseas mission. Jong Suk, the founder of Jinjin Hospital, saved his life. After that, he left the Special Forces team for good. The old member wanted to invite Kim to join his live stream. He gave it a title: The Brave Man, Andrew. When Jin Song investigated about the limited pin, he saw a purchaser named Andrew in the list. Without any more hesitation, he rushed to the store. Reviewing the list, there was indeed a client named Andrew. However, the phone number on the list didn't belong to Kim. With the approval of the staff, Jin Song called it with the store's landline phone. It was Kim who attacked Jin Wu. At the police station, Jin Song told everyone that Kim attacked Jin Wu, following the order of Young Woon's mother. Jin Wu organ was donated. At the same time, Young Woon had the heart transplant. To make it more favorable for Young Woon's surgery, Kim caused a brain death to Jin Wu. As Jin was the biggest hospital in the country, it wasn't hard to find a suitable heart for Young Woon. Why did they commit a crime to get him a heart? Why did it have to be Jin Woo's heart? How could they be sure about the organ matching and compatibility? Jin Song wanted to find who received Jin Woo's heart first. Jin Song's mother called him about the invitation to an exhibition. It was the same as the one that Jin Wu got. Jin Song decided to meet the artist. He came to the hall and asked the person in charge how to contact artist Mary. She couldn't give him the artist's private information. He heard that Mary would have an exclusive interview on Wednesday. Thus, he asked Hee-ju to help him get Mary's phone number. Hee-ju told him something important about Mary. The statue in Jin Woo's photo was the same as the one in Young Woon's home. Thanks to Hee-ju's information, Jin Song came to a design company for more. The designer said it was Chairman Cha's statue. He chose to buy it among the artworks of the interns. Also, there was a rumor about Chairman Cha and the female intern. Jin Song asked him if the intern's name was Jean Mary. The designer said that was right. On the way home, Hee-ju sent Mary's phone number to Jin Song. Without further ado, he texted Mary, "I'm Jin Woo's brother. And I hope to see you." Checking on her schedule, she asked to see him at 7:30 p.m. In the evening, Jin Song arrived at the hotel as scheduled and encountered Kim there. After a few questions, Kim left the hotel. Actually, Kim came there to sign a confidential agreement with Mary. Mary was not allowed to reveal her relationship with Jin Wu. In return, Jinjin Group would sponsor her $2 million. Jin Song posed some questions, but Mary did not answer. Jin Song gave Young Woon the latest updates on Jin Woo's case. Young Woon couldn't believe that Kim was the culprit. Reading Dr. Chu's surveillance report and Jin Woo's photos, Young Woon was perturbed. He didn't want to admit the truth. However, the evidences were clear. Young Woon came back home and stared at the statue. Chairman Cha wondered why he didn't get in. Young Woon wanted to know if his father knew Jean Mary. Being stunned for a while, Young Woon's father told him the truth. Years ago, he had an affair with Mary for a period of time. She gave him a child. Soon later, Young Woon's mother figured it out. For the sake of the family, he decided to break up with Mary. Chairman Cha asked if Young Woon met his half-brother. Young Woon said he left the world. It was hard for Young Woon to accept the truth. Jin Wu was his half-brother. He knew Jin Song was right, and texted him, "I know you're right." Jin Song told Young Ju everything, and Young Woon got the proof. They didn't survey Jin Wu for the research. They aimed to get Jin Wu's heart for Young Woon. That was why Kim attacked on Jin Wu. What they needed to do was to find out who took Jin Wu's heart. However, Jin Song felt stuck when reading the donation records. Young Woon didn't have the transplant after Jin Wu's death. By the time Young Woon left the country, he underwent 8 surgeries. None of them was the heart transplant. He believed that the records were made up. Young Woon directly asked the surgeon, who carried out the heart transplant, why his heart transplant wasn't recorded. The surgeon was only in charge of the surgery. He had nothing to do with the records. Young Woon said he contacted the man who received Jin Wu's heart, but he said he had no heart transplant. The surgeon said nothing and left in panic. Jin Song was going to capture Kim. Young Ju tried to calm him down when he insisted her on applying for the arrest warrant. Jin Song just went to see Kim. He needed Kim to confirm a few things about Jin Wu. Kim claimed to tell him everything last time, and asked him to follow the rule. If not, Kim would handle Jin Song under the hospital's regulations. Jin Song remembered Young Ju's advice. He would follow the rule. Young Woon went to Kim's house and admitted to know his mom saved Kim's life. He knew Kim would protect his mom. Young Woon gave him the suit pin and said, Jin Song found it in the crime scene of the attack on Jin Wu. He didn't understand why Kim didn't order a new one or throw it away. Kim said that Young Woon's mother gave it to him on the 25th anniversary of their affair, so he couldn't throw it away. Kim knew she sacrificed her life to save Young Woon. That was what a noble mother could do. He hoped Young Woon would sympathize with her. Young Woon said the investigation team had many evidences in their hands. Kim wouldn't be able to escape punishment. Reaching his car, Young Woon's watch alerted. He felt pain in his heart. Coming home, he asked his mother if she performed the heart transplant on him with Jin Wu's heart. She said Jin Wu had a brain death when he was hospitalized. As his heart was compatible, she decided to take his heart for Young Woon. Everything was legal and irrelevant to Young Woon. He didn't expect that his mother was that heartless. He showed the heart transplant records to her. If everything was legal, why did make up the records? He unluckily had heart disease at birth. But he couldn't expect that she used such a scary way to save him. Even she was a mother, she couldn't take someone's life just to save him. Different from them, she was willing to do it for her son's sake. She wouldn't let him die. How could she watch him dying? Young Woon wished she would have let him be, rather than turned him into a shameless brother who took his younger brother's life. After Young Woon left, the chairman asked his wife if she had planned it all to take Jin Woo's heart. She said it was her responsibility to find a matching heart for Young Woon. Even if only Chairman Cha's heart matched, the result wouldn't have been different. Chairman Cha found Young Woon for a talk. He said Jong-suk only slept 2 hours a day for the last 20 years. And she always checked on his health every 2 hours. Before living as a doctor, she was a mother. She did not allow Young Woon to be in any danger. Young Ju also asked Young Woon for a talk. She knew it was hard for him. However, she still felt that it was his mother who made the plan. She told him all about the progress of the crime. Young Woon didn't think that a suit pin found in the crime scene could prove Kim to be the culprit. Even if he visited the village, it wouldn't mean that Kim attacked Jin Wu. He had to think of all the possibilities. Young Ju wanted him to explain about the missing of the heart transplant surgery. The patient who was told to be the recipient of Jin Woo's heart didn't undergo any heart transplant. Young Woon wished Young Ju not to get involved in this case. He said she might lose her job though tried her best to find the truth. Young Ju had made up her mind. Young Woon wondered if she chose him or Jin Wu. Whoever she chose, their relationship would never again be the same. Jin Song arrived at Kim's house and arrested him for taking Jin Woo's life. Kim's lawyer didn't agree. Once they obtained an arrest warrant. Why an urgent one? Jin Song aimed to prevent Kim from going abroad. Whatever Jin Song asked, Kim only claimed that he knew nothing. Lawyer demanded Jin Song to show them the evidences. Jin Song showed them an USB as the evidence of his attack on Jin Wu. They had no clue that someone filmed his crime. Kim's raised an eyebrow. Maybe he was startled. Jin Song accused Kim of a bloodbath with the help of his accomplice. As soon as Jin Song referred to Young Woon's mother, Kim warned him. Be careful with your words or else you'll be sued for calumniation. When Jin Song took Kim back to the interrogation room from the toilet, Young-tae rushed in and informed Jin Song that the arrest warrant was dismissed. They were obliged to release Kim. On the other hand, the chief prosecutor suddenly asked Young Ju what was wrong with his daughter, Hee-ju. The previous day, she wanted to get back to work. Especially join Young Ju's team. She was determined to be an elite prosecutor. Young Ju only told Hee-ju all about the case. Chief prosecutor wished Young Ju good work. She was ready to exchange her lifetime career for this case. Back to work, Hee-ju bought each member of the team a coffee. She then revealed a secret. At the hospital, she encountered Mingyu's psychiatrist. She asked the psychiatrist to give her a diagnosis of depression. And that psychiatrist was working at Jinjin Hospital. Hee-ju didn't expect that Young Woon's mother allowed such a thing. Jin Song's mother realized that his colleagues often came to her eatery. It was Jin Song who asked them to come for protecting and monitoring Dr. Chu. She held one of the team members and kept questioning him. The man eventually agreed to tell her why. She offhand went to Seoul and asked Jin Song who took Jin Woo's life. Once he found out who ordered Dr. Chu to supervise Jin Wu, she would not spare his life. It made her crazy because she was singing karaoke when he was attacked. And she would only leave Seoul when Jin Song tell her everything. Young Woon's parents were discussing with Kim and their lawyer. The lawyer said the police might summon Kim. However, they didn't have reliable evidences. Therefore, Kim had the right to be absent. When the lawyer was about to open a champagne, Young Woon showed up. He grabbed the bottle of champagne and poured it into the ice bucket, announcing that his mother and Kim would be accused of putting Jin Woo's life to an end. The police had indirect evidences. The lawyer was worried about the witness mentioned by the police. After the lawyer left, Young Woon said Ki-young was the witness. So he wanted to know if his mother and Kim eliminated Ki-young as their legal representative and consultant. He hoped his mother would be honest with him. Young Woon's mother was frank that it wasn't her. As a prosecutor, he was trying to protect his family. They couldn't let Jin Woo's real mother tell everyone about Jin Woo's father. Young Woon's mother said she paid Mary enough to close her mouth. Meanwhile, Jin Song tried to turn Mary into a witness who could prove that Kim knew Chairman Cha was Jin Woo's father. Following that, they would apply for an arrest warrant for criminal conspiracy. Feeling insecure, Young Woon's mother met Mary. She asked for a talk with Mary. Mary kept Jong-suk waiting because she had an appointment with someone else. That was none other than Jin Song. Mary told him that Jong-suk harmed Jin Woo. Also, she questioned why Ki-young died. Jin Song was so surprised at her acquaintanceship with Ki-young. Mary admitted to know the truth when she returned to the country. Ki-young once met her as a journalist and showed her the video of the attack on Jin Wu. That shocked her a lot. Next, Ki-young let her watch another footage, which was about Young-woon's heart transplant. Ki-young said he was also chosen to be the organ donor. But they spared him because he had serum hepatitis. If he didn't have the disease, he would have been the one who died. Although Officer Jin Song couldn't save Jin Wu, he will definitely investigate Jin Wu's death. Ki-young knew Mary would find a way to revenge. Despite being Jin Wu's mother, she didn't bring him up. And she had always been waiting until when Jin Wu could forgive her and accept her. Unexpectedly, he lost his life before changing his mind. She had only one way to revenge for him, which was the confidential agreement between her and Jin Hospital. Jong-suk saw Mary talking with Jin Song, which was planned by Mary. Jong-suk criticized Mary for always breaking her promise. Mary said the agreement didn't mention Jin Wu's death, neither stipulate for the refusal of the association with the police. She also told Jong-suk about the footage of her plan. Jong-suk then realized her conversation with Kim was recorded by a hidden camera. She let Kim know about that. Mary took side with the police and she already knew who was the one setting up the hidden camera. Jong-suk questioned the housemaid whether she was threatened by Ki-young. The housemaid knelt down and begged for forgiveness. For the first time working there, she was usually scolded for her mistakes. Ki-young always comforted her. More than that, he gave her enough money to pay for her mother's hospital fee. In return for someone's kindness, she became his spy. When she cleaned the house, she attached a hidden camera on the bookshelf. She even heard that Kim would go to Jin Wu's village at PM and texted Ki-young. Jin Song told Young-ju about Mary's revenge plan. To cover the relationship between Jin Wu and Chairman Cha, Jong-suk gave Mary a lot of money. They got enough evidences to arrest Kim and Jong-suk. But they needed a prosecutor to help. Jin Song received a phone call. Hong's mother, who was a friend of Ki-young's mother, returned to the country. She said they were models working for Jin Group. Chairman Cha had feelings for Ki-young's mother. When she gave birth to Ki-young, people said his father was Chairman Cha. Ki-young's mother didn't deny it. She lost her job after childbirth. She and Ki-young lived in a basement. Lawyer Hong's mother usually visited them, and saw Ki-young's mother taking medicine quite often, which was a dietary supplement sent by Jin Hospital. Yet, she thought the supplement wasn't good for health. Because Ki-young's mother was hospitalized for drug poisoning. The doctor said it was poison. She believed that Jong-suk poisoned Ki-young's mother. If not, something like that wouldn't have happened, and she did tell Ki-young all about that. He had the right to know why his mother died. Her mother died, but now she regrets it. However, she felt regretful. If he didn't know this, he wouldn't have done such a terrible thing. Neither ended his own life. Jin Song let the team hear the recording of their conversation. Young-ju found an important detail. If Ki-young wanted to revenge, why did he bring his own life to an end? Jin Song didn't believe that Ki-young eliminated himself. It was Jong-suk whom he wanted to revenge. Once he was found dead, Jong-suk would become the suspect. If he terminated himself, no one would doubt her. Jin Song asked to see Young-woon at Ki-young's house. He said Ki-young was jealous of Young-woon because they were half-brothers. In fact, he came there to take Ki-young's DNA. So he hoped Young-woon would give him his DNA too. Young-woon lost his temper when reading the DNA test result. He took it to his mother and asked her why she didn't let him know Ki-young was his half-brother. She took care of Ki-young's health to keep his heart healthy. Despite her special treatment, Ki-young had hatred for her when he discovered her true motive. It took Ki-young a few years to make a plan on revenge. Jong-suk said she sponsored Ki-young because his mother was her company's model. As Ki-young's mother didn't take good care of him, he was malnourished. Jong-suk took care of him like he was her second son. Young-woon wanted to know if she put Ki-young's life to an end. He had to ask for the truth as her lawyer. She emphasized that whether Ki-young took his own life or someone else did it, it was none of her business. The police officers were putting forward an argument. If Ki-young was still alive, it would have been a trouble for Jong-suk, because he might reveal the truth about his relationship with Chairman Cha, and Jong-suk's plan on taking Jin Woo's heart for Young-woon. Finding the passport and phone of Ki-young next to the body didn't mean that was Ki-young. Young-tae said NFS confirmed that was really Ki-young's body. The officer wondered, based on what could they confirmed that was Ki-young's body? Young-tae answered, based on his dental records. The officer found the key. Was the dental record from Jin Hospital? They had to start over again. Jin Song learned that the teeth might be man-made, based on the dental x-ray, and it was very easy for Jin to make a counterfeit set of teeth. Ki-young's dental x-ray was taken 4 years ago. Perhaps he had dental checks at other dental clinics. Everyone immediately remembered Ki-young's accomplices from before. Jin Song went to meet the perverted dentist, Mingyu. Mingyu told him that Ki-young had dental checks at his dental clinic in the recent years. Comparing the dental x-rays from two places, they clearly saw the difference. Mingyu said he gave Ki-young a tooth filling 2 years ago. That meant Jin Hospital used the old dental x-ray to make a counterfeit set of teeth. It was how the burnt body was told to be Ki-young. Jin Song believed that Ki-young was still alive. During lunch, the officer mentioned miso soup and body weight control. This reminded Jin Song of Kim's breakfast when he arrested Kim. And in front of the elevator, a deliveryman brought along miso soup. According to lawyer Hong's mother, that was Ki-young's favorite dish. For this reason, Jin Song was sure that Ki-young was captured in Kim's apartment. Right after that, they came to the apartment next to Kim's one. Jin Song got the password from the management office. Breaking the door and entering the apartment, they saw a man in the living room. He was none other than Ki-young. Kim was summoned to the police station. The arrest warrant for Kim was also approved. But the arrest warrant for Jong-suk was dismissed. In the beginning, Kim didn't answer Young-ju. Until he saw the suit pin, he admitted it belonged to him. And to be the one who attacked Jin Wu. In an unwanted incident, Jin Hospital knew about the arrest warrant in advance. He bribed Mary because she betrayed. Young-woon let Kim take fully responsibilities for manslaughter. Thus, the maximum sentence was 5 years in prison. The lawyer came to help Kim. In order to prevent the damage on Jin Hospital, he lied, which could overturn his previous statements. He argued that there was no direct evidence of Kim's attack on Jin Wu. Thanks to this, Kim got a verdict of not guilty for himself. The lawyer thought it was the best way. Kim was willing to take fully responsibilities. Young-ju knew she would say so. So she showed him the footage from Ki-young's hidden camera. Kim and the lawyer were stunned. When Jin Song found Ki-young, they could log in his cloud. He had many footage as evidences of Jong-suk's crimes. The lawyer didn't accept the illegal footage, which could not be used as legal evidence to interrogate his client, though it had no legal effect. These footage were enough to prove the assassination attempt of Jong-suk and Kim. Surely, they were accomplices, but the lawyer did not think so. He refused to consider those illegal evidences. Ignoring the lawyer, Young-ju focused on questioning Kim. Did Dr. Yu order you to kidnap Ki-young? Kim said she never ordered him to do this. Because Ki-young put his own life to an end. Young-woon also the videos. He knew the investigation team would consider this video as important evidence to accuse Kim of murder with attention. Although these footage had no legal effect, he suspects that the prosecution had other important clues. Even though her mother's arrest warrant was dismissed, the police could still arrest her in case of emergency. Speaking of which, Jin Song opened the door and rushed in. The police urgently arrested her for plotting to assassin Jin Wu. Jin Song almost handcuffed Dr. Yu. Yet, he thought of Young-woon. So he just took her to the police station without handcuff. Young-ju questioned, "Did you order someone to kidnap Ki-young?" Dr. Yu said no. Young-ju kept asking, "Did you know about the relation between Jin Wu and Young-woo?" Jong-suk insisted that she knew nothing. Also, she denied the plan on raising Ki-young to take his heart for Young-woon. After hearing her answer, Young-ju brought Kim there. As soon as they confirmed to be innocent, she took the witness in. The witness was none other than Ki-young. Jong-suk and Kim were surprised at his presence. Kim felt so sorry for Jong-suk. It was true that Jong-suk required Kim to take Ki-young's life. Kim had another thought, so he just kidnapped Ki-young. He made Ki-young record his last words. Couldn't get away from this, Kim admitted to kidnap Ki-young. And his action had nothing to do with Jong-suk. He took all the blame on himself. But Ki-young remembered when he was kidnapped. Kim clearly told him that Jong-suk wanted his life. The lawyer argued that the criminal's testimony was not trustworthy. Young-ju would consider that later. Kim explained that Jong-suk only wished Ki-young to stop his crime. It was his fault when misunderstanding her words. That was why he kidnapped Ki-young and faked his death. As Kim admitted his guilt, Young-ju took him out first. Next, she showed them the DNA test result, which was found in Jong-suk's laptop. The test confirmed that Young-woon and Ki-young were half-brothers. Furthermore, there was a copy of organ donation agreement and the donor was Ki-young. How could she know nothing about them? Ki-young criticized her for what she had done to his mom. Young-ju brought Kim in again. She asked him if he really had no intention to attack Jin Wu. Kim still gave her the same answer. To shorten the progress, Young-ju showed him the footage. Ki-young followed him to the scene and filmed the whole progress. When Kim harmed Jin Wu's life, Young-ju couldn't believe that Kim had no intention. It was clear that he had a plan. Young-ju allowed Kim a chance to declare that Jong-suk was the schemer. Yet, he still confirmed she was innocent. Young-ju showed a folder of documents. The copy of the heart transplant record. The donor was Jin Wu and recipient was Young-woon. Jong-suk knew about their relation long time ago. That was why she had Dr. Chu spy on Jin Wu. Despite all these evidences, the chief prosecutor still demanded Young-ju to release them. The investigation team decided to make a new plan. They had to find evidence of her crime. Their first target was Mr. Bei. Young-woon couldn't bear it watching the whole interrogation. He came out of the observation room with a feeling of shame. Next, he told the minister that Ki-young was still alive. Young-woon wanted to reinvestigate the mass bloodbath. He told Ki-young that Mingyu only admitted to take his wife's life. And Lee-young got rid of the other 2 victims. Mingyu only gave Lee-young money. He wondered if Ki-young agreed with that. Ki-young believed it was the truth. He was also the one who shared Lee-young's location with the police. Months ago, Ki-young came to see Jin Wu when he was sharpening his knife. It gave him an idea of turning the same knife into the weapon to shift the blame on Jin Wu. Ki-young used Jin Wu's trauma to make him look like a pervert, who took women's lives by cutting their ankles. End of the interrogation. Young-woon turned off the audio recording device. Young-woon wondered why Ki-young didn't tell him about his mother's plan. In Ki-young's mind, he himself was just a spare part that Young-woon needed. He had never lived his life. Nothing would change even if he chose to tell Young-woon. Recalling their childhood, they were naive kids. While he was playing basketball, he had a heart attack and fainted. It was Ki-young who took him to the medical room. From then on, Young-woon considered Ki-young his own brother. Ki-young also considered Young-woon his brother. No matter what he did, he tried his best to catch up with Young-woon and to gain Jong-suk's love. Life isn't easy. Ki-young collapsed when he figured out her plan. As for Young-woon, he just needed to hear the truth from Ki-young, and he wouldn't let Ki-young take innocent people's lives. Ki-young pissed off and screamed there was no choice, because Young-woon didn't know how powerful his mother and her hospital were. After Young-woon left, Jin Song came in. He wanted to know since when he planned on revenge. It was after his mother's funeral. His mother's friend said someone from Jinjin Hospital poisoned his mother. The doctor confirmed that his mother had always taken painkillers containing narcotics. However, the doctor did not prescribe any such medicine. That meant someone gave it to his mother. Getting the DNA test result, Kim-young thought Jong-suk took revenge on his mother for having an affair with her husband. On the day he passed the reporter exam, she received the alert on Young-woon's heart attack. Ki-young went to Jong-suk's office to tell her the good news, but the ruthless truth broke his heart. Looking at her computer screen, he discovered her plan on taking his heart for Young-woon. So he copied the plan to his USB. Moreover, he found out that Jin Wu was also the backup. He also read the report made by Dr. Chu. Ki-young decided to travel a long way to see Jin Wu. He plucked a hair from Jin Wu's head for the DNA test. As predicted, 3 of them were half-brothers. He shifted the blame on Jin Wu to save him from Jong-suk's plan. As long as Jin Wu was imprisoned, she couldn't carry out her plan. Ki-young intended to settle down in another country after sending Jin Wu to prison, which was for breaking Jong-suk's plan. Young-ju kept questioning Jong-suk. Mary showed up as a witness. When Mary saw the agreement, she said Kim brought it to the hotel where she was living a few days since she met Jong-suk. The lawyer emphasized that his client didn't order Kim to enter this agreement. Young-ju played the recording. When signing the agreement, Mary mentioned Jong-suk because she was recording their conversation. Jong-suk couldn't deny it. Amid the interrogation, the chief prosecutor asked Young-ju for a talk. Instead of carrying out justice, he ordered her to release them, because she was allowed to investigate without arrest. Young-ju had no choice but to agree. It was the request of the minister and the chief prosecutor. Jin Song told her not to be angry, as they had a stronger weapon, which was Jinjin Hospital's Plan B. After discovering that Chris, who was with chronic diabetes, had invested in Jinjin Hospital, Ki-young hacked Jong-suk's computer to get her Plan B. Jin Song guessed Chris had invested a huge amount of money, as he wanted Jinjin Hospital to help him get a matching organ. Young-ju knew they needed a vast amount of information to find a matching organ. Jinjin Hospital gave free health checkups every year to people with low income. That was how they could easily find the matching organs. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Having an analysis of it, Jin Song decided to dig into the 2 young guys on the list of donors, and Mr. Bei was the president of the Healthcare and Protection Department. Surely, he gave Jinjin Hospital the best terms. So they needed to investigate him. Jin Song went to see Lee Sang-in, who was on the list of donors. Then he met the manager of organ transplant department. Both of the young men on the list of donors had health checkups at Jinjin Hospital, but they had nothing to prove that Bei gave Jinjin Hospital the personal information. Thus, they tried to take Bei to their side. Jin Song told Bei that Kim admitted to bribe him with money hid in the box of wine. The manager of the organ transplant department also admitted that he was threatened by Bei, so that he had no choice but to fake the list of donors. Next, Jin Song threatened Bei. If you refuse to cooperate, you will be imprisoned just like your son. Bei got scared and asked for the benefit when he worked with the police. Bei had no idea that what he said was recorded. Meanwhile, Young Woon met Jin Woo's doctor to ask about Jin Woo's health state when he was hospitalized. She said the surgery was good and Jin Woo recovered quickly. But she didn't know why he was dying all of a sudden. She was too confused to check it out again, because many variables often occur in critically ill patients. Young Woon went to the hospital for the footage of Jin Woo's room. At the court, Min-gyu was attending the trial. Young Woon accused Min-gyu of a bloodbath and offered the death penalty for him. Everyone was in a tumult. Bei looked at Jin Song and nodded his head. Young Woon also accused Ki-young of manslaughter. He also offered the death penalty for Ki-young. Jin Song texted Young-ju, Bei would take a stand. On the other hand, Jong-suk went to see Kim in the prison. Kim said sorry for kidnapping Ki-young without letting her know. She could feel his loyalty and concerns. As for her, Kim was more dependable than her family. It was hard for her to choose one of two options. Kim said out of sight, out of mind. But no distance can break their belief. The next day, Jin Woo's case was brought to the trial. The first person to testify was Dr. Chu. He admitted that Kim ordered him to spy on Jin Woo and regularly examined his health, especially his heart, because Jin Hospital helped him cover his medical accident. However, he was unaware of the crazy plan behind it. Kim told him it was for a clinical study on organs. Chu didn't know that was a plan on manslaughter. He regretted and felt sorry for his whole life. Young-ju gave the judges the copies of Chu's report and how he led Jin Woo to the seashore, plus the video of Kim's attack on Jin Woo. Kim was clearly seen in the video, which was recorded by a witness. Kim followed after Jin Woo and attacked him. This was clearly an assassination attempt. Young-ju played another video, in which Kim ordered his men to kidnap Ki-young. She asked Kim why he kidnapped Ki-young. Was it because Ki-young was their first target on the list of organ donors? He was silent for a while. Young-ju questioned him. Did you kidnap Ki-young and assassin Jin Woo to save Young Woon? Kim finally admitted it. The next witness was Mary. Young-ju asked her why she recorded it when signing the agreement with Kim. Mary explained that a normal woman like her couldn't fight against Jin Group. Even though she knew her son died for nothing, but a powerless mother like her couldn't do anything. The only thing she could do for her son was to record evidence of their crime. Ki-young was also attending the trial as a witness. Young-ju asked why he carried out a bloodbath. He wanted to take a revenge on Jong-suk. Ki-young, Young Woon and Jin Woo were half-brothers. They have something in common, time. They couldn't know when they would leave the world. To save Young Woon, Jong-suk planned on the death of Ki-young and Jin Woo. Jong-suk seemed to sponsor poor people like him and even treat him like a son. But she wasn't as kind as she expressed. Her purpose was evil. He asked the judge for a fair judgment. Next, Young-ju questioned Lee Sang-in. He paid for health checkups. Until Jin Hospital contacted him. They provided health checkups for those who didn't have a full-time job. Young-ju pointed at the reports on his health checkup. There was a section on organ examine, which would not appear in the comprehensive examination, because it was only on the list of organ donors for billionaire Chris. Sang-in was also the most suitable person on the list. A shocking secret was covered. Young Woon also took the stand. He explained the reason why. He was aware that his mother really loved him. For the rest of his life, he would live in pain, so he asked her to admit her guilt. Indirectly, he confirmed his mother's guilt. However, Jong-suk still denied her crimes. Young-ju showed her the footage of her crime. A day before she announced that Jin Woo had a brain death, everyone felt so confused. The lawyer protested because the footage wasn't on the list of evidences. The judges paused for discussion. It was Young Woon who gave Jin Song the footage of his mother's crime. Young Woon was so shocked when his mother removed oxygen from Jin Woo. As he was her son, he was about to destroy the evidence, but his good heart didn't allow him. Finally, he called his dad. Chairman Cha felt sorry when Young Woon was hurt. Young Woon wasn't sure that his choice was right. His father said, "Children can be selfish with their parents. Don't be sorry." He and his wife wouldn't hate him, as they should take responsibilities for what they did. Live your life. Do right things and be honest. After that, he gave Jin Song the footage, according to my conscience. After the recess, the court accepted the footage as a legal evidence. The recording of her crime. Couldn't deny it anymore. Jong-suk admitted to take Jin Woo's life. Young-ju claimed, rich or high-ranking people don't have the right to end people's life. If people's lives were possessed by powerful people, it was no different from living in hell, when rich people gave themselves the right. Therefore, she offered the death sentences to Kim and Dr. Yu to bring justice to the victim's family. To be at a dead end, Young Woon's mother gave her last words. She was sorry for Jin Wu and his family. Yet, she wouldn't beg for their forgiveness, because she knew this was impossible. And she was truly cared for Ki-young. Deep in her subconscious, the thing was that she only wished to save Young Woon's life. Even though she was on the wrong path, she had to continue as she was his mother. She had no regret as long as her son could continue his life. And she was willing to receive the punishment. With the clear evidences from the prosecution, defendant Kim and Dr. Yu were accomplices who attempted to end innocent people's life and violated the medical laws would be punishable by life imprisonment. The case related to Jinjin Hospital was related to the political and judicial world. Bei was arrested for taking bribes. During a year in prison, Dr. Yu received a letter from her son every week. She kept all his letters, yet, she daren't read any of them. Perhaps because she lacked courage. Or because she didn't allow an evil woman like her to enjoy her son's care.